What does it mean to live in a society where social rights are protected and promoted? What does it take to build a society where everyone has access to rights and protections they deserve? And is such a goal realistic?
According to the European Commission, Europe is home to some of the most equal societies in the world. But equality and other important rights and values are not all the same across the bloc, with some countries leading the way while others struggle to keep pace. In 2017, the European Union pledged to build a strong social Europe that is fair, inclusive and full of opportunities for the 21st century. But where do we stand today? In this video, we will explore the current landscape of employment, education and poverty and delve into the EU's ambitious social goals for the future. Let's begin by understanding what social rights are.
Rights are all the basic things that we as citizens are entitled to. Social rights are specifically about making sure everyone gets these basic needs met so they can live a decent life. For example, social rights include access to quality healthcare, the right to education, social protection, inclusion and gender equality.
Social rights are historically more developed in Europe than in most other parts of the world and are a key part of how societies aim to support their citizens. In comparison to the United States, where there is no universal healthcare system, the EU obliges all member states to offer equal access to quality healthcare to all citizens.
In 2017, European leaders and social partners gathered in Gothenburg in Sweden for a social summit for fair jobs and growth. In 2021, the EU launched the European Pillar of Social Rights Action Plan, a commitment to elevate standards for social rights across the continent. The pillar sets out 20 key principles, including job security, work-life balance, social protection, healthcare, childcare, gender equality, and inclusion of people with disabilities. The goal is to ensure that citizens get these basic needs met.
However, it is worth remembering that social policies are primarily the responsibilities of member states. National governments hold most of the say on policies on pensions, healthcare, wages and other social rights. In this field, the EU has a complementary role of establishing guidelines and coordinating efforts. To this day, standards of social rights vary across the bloc, sometimes with striking differences. A few examples.
In 2023, 12% of citizens in the Czech Republic were at risk of poverty and social exclusion compared to 30% in Romania and Bulgaria, according to Eurostat. For children, 11% in Slovenia were at risk of poverty, while nearly 40% faced the same threat in Romania. Employment rates also vary widely across the EU, from 66% in Italy to 84% in the Netherlands. The gap in adult participation in learning activities is equally stark. Only 15% in Greece engage in lifelong learning each year, compared to 73% in Sweden.
To address these disparities, the European Pillar of Social Rights Action Plan has set ambitious goals for 2030. The plan aims to increase the employment rate to 78%, up from 75% today, boost adult participation in learning activities to 60% from current 45%, and reduce the number of people at risk of poverty by at least 15 million from the current level of 94 million people. These targets are designed to elevate standards across the EU and reduce the inequalities that persist today. In the last legislative period, the EU also passed legislation that aims at improving living and working conditions of citizens. In 2022, it adopted the Directive on Adequate Minimum Wages with the goal of establishing establishing a framework that member states must follow to make sure their minimum wages are adequate and sufficient to provide a decent standard of living. Ursula von der Leyen, re-elected President of the European Commission by a vote in the European Parliament in July, has pledged to do more for social fairness. While she waved the idea of a new action plan on the implementation of the European Pillar of Social Rights, she proposed creating a first-ever EU-wide anti-poverty strategy. Furthermore, she proposed developing a European affordable housing plan and the appointment of a commissioner with direct responsibility for housing. Housing is becoming a serious concern in several EU countries, with spiking housing prices and reduced availability. This issue has been pushing more people into homelessness, which increased in the EU by 70% between 2010 and 2020. The European Union has set ambitious goals for the future of social rights across the bloc. Reducing poverty, promoting education, ensuring fair wages, and providing proper healthcare while addressing the varying standards among 27 countries will be a significant challenge for the new legislative term, especially as individual member states retain primary responsibility over social rights. We'll follow closely the work of the EU institutions in the field. Go check the European Newsroom for more.